In 2026, director David Borenstein accepted the Academy Award for Best Documentary for Mr. Nobody Against Putin. His acceptance speech contained a chilling warning. A country, he explained, is lost through the accumulated weight of countless small acts of silence and compliance. To understand how the Russian state arrived at this totalitarian present, we have to look back at a 25-year cinematic record, a trail of documentary archives tracking the step-by-step assembly of an autocracy. In the late 1990s, the state co-opted the lens. The Kremlin used the camera to manufacture the myth of a democratic savior rising from the chaos of the post-Soviet era. By 1999, the Russian Federation was fracturing. The economy collapsed, creating, as Boris Yeltsin's grip faded. The establishment turned to a relatively obscure former KGB operative. A man who had been stationed in Dresden a decade earlier, watching crowds dismantle the Berlin Wall while Moscow remained silent. Filmmaker Vitaly Mansky was hired to record this transition for the state. He was granted fly-on-the-wall access to the new acting president for a project that would eventually become the film Putin's Witnesses. A series of devastating apartment bombings quickly catalyzed the Second Chechen War, causing the new leader's approval ratings to surge as the public rallied around his promise of security. The military campaign that followed projected an image of decisive, ruthless strength, convincing a terrified public that order was finally being restored. Mansky eventually realized the state had instrumentalized his access. His cameras provided the visual legitimacy used to cement a dictator's foundational myth. The early 2000s were defined by a social contract. The public accepted political compliance in exchange for economic stability and rising living standards. Putin consolidated his power vertical by replacing independent oligarchs with loyalists from the security services. As the regime hardened, the camera evolved from a state PR tool into a dangerous instrument of investigative resistance. In 2021, opposition leader Alexei Navalny released an investigation directly challenging the Kremlin's narrative, Putin's Palace. Navalny alleged the existence of a secret, hyper-luxurious compound on the Black Sea coast, worth an estimated $1.3 billion. The investigation anchored its case in physical evidence, smuggled architectural floor plans, itemized furniture receipts, and drone footage of the heavily restricted facade. The film mapped a complex financial architecture, tracing how state wealth was siphoned through leasing services into a private slush fund used to build the estate. The documentary reached 100 million views in days, shattering records,